What really gets my dick hard is...
So fucking what?
Welcome to Metal Up Your Podcast, episode 14. I'm Ethan Luck.
And I'm Clint Wells.
And I'd like to first apologize for my hoarse voice. I'm a little under the weather. I just got back from a few shows on the road and been in a lot of airports last week. So if you like a hoarse voice, then you're going to enjoy this episode.
I hope all our listeners are gracious to your weird voice. I hope they accept your apology.
I hope they do too, but I probably shouldn't apologize for things like that, but whatever.
Go ahead, just start sing the first verse Outlaw Torn right now.
You can't do it.
And I'll leave my whole lifetime.
Tonight we're doing episode 14 is the What If episode. Clint put it out on the Metallica forums that we were doing this episode. It's a hypothetical kind of thing. What if, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if this didn't happen? Things like that. Just kind of a fun episode to go over, hypothetical situations, scenarios, what could have been, stuff like that.
Yeah, and we didn't really know what to expect in terms of response, but we got well over 200 responses. So we put them all together, and because some of this is from email, some of it's from Reddit as well. So we have done our best to organize it, and we're going to try to get to every one of them. If we, for whatever reason, don't get to yours, we're very sorry, but hopefully you can understand we got a lot more response than we thought.
Yeah, we got
would.
a ton. And, we can definitely do a part 2 for sure.
Yeah.
I think this is something that could be a reoccurring thing because it is fun to talk about these things.
Yeah.
But before we get into the episode, we do want to talk about a couple things. One being, we started a Patreon site. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's just a way to support podcasts, projects, things like that. If you go to patreon.com/metalupyourpodcast, you'll find our page. It's live. It's just a way for you to support financially because there are costs involved with this whole thing, equipment, hosting, domains, stuff like that. Any little bit helps. A lot helps. More than a lot helps even more. But no pressure. We just want to throw it out there. And if you like what you hear, if you've been enjoying the podcast, feel free to donate and pledge. And
there's cool little incentives too. Like depending on how much you pledge, you can get a shout out on the podcast. You can decide a topic for us. You can even be a guest on the podcast.
Yep.
There's a bunch of cool stuff there for you to check out.
Yeah, definitely. And Patreon is one of those things that it's very common amongst podcasters to use for this very reason. So we thought, why not do this? Just throw it out there and see what happens.
What if we're wearing like gold-plated like battle jackets?
Oh, we will be. We definitely will be.
Daddy needs a new leather jacket.
I want a leather jacket with like a tiger on the back or a scorpion.
Wow.
No.
Not a Metallica logo, just a scorpion or a tiger.
I'm thinking more like in Rocky 2 when he gets some money and he buys the car and buys Adrian something nice. Then he gets himself, it looks like kind of like a bomber jacket, but it's got like a tiger on the back. It's so bitchin'.
Yeah. Ethan really just wants you to go support Patreon so he can just continue building his Rocky memorabilia.
That's true.
All right. And then we have the guitar picks that we mentioned on our last episode.
Yes, we did, yeah.
We are going to be announcing the winners of that soon. If you follow us on Instagram or on the forum, you've seen the pictures of all the picks we're going to be giving away. Really cool Metal Up Your Podcast picks.
Yep.
And then, of course, the real cherry on top, picks with pictures of Ethan and mine's face on it.
I wish everyone could just have seen Clint do the kissy thing. There's a good Louis C.K. bit about that. If you like him, watch that. But did the whole kind of thing.
You heard it. I hope you put it together in your head. You imagined it.
Yeah, I figured you could do that. You're all smart. We'll announce the winners of that soon. You'll be getting some Metal Up Your Podcast and Clint and Ethan picks in the mail.
Ooh,
free things.
Anyone else do that? Any other podcast do that? I don't think so.
Yeah, any other podcast do Metal Up Your Podcast picks? Didn't think so.
I don't think so.
We do. Speaking of, if I could go back to the Patreon thing, another thing that will enable is for us to start doing merch and stuff like that. We'd love to do t-shirts,
stickers,
buttons, patches, things like that. Back patches. That's metal.
Ooh, for a battle jacket.
Throw it on your jean jacket, whatever. Bandanas. We could do all sorts of things.
Harley Davidson motorcycles,
totally.
jungle gyms,
tote bags,
totes
to take to Trader Joe's.
What's the last thing we wanted to mention?
We were going to mention coming up. We're still trying to figure out how to do this in a professional manner, but we want to have fans as guests from time to time, kind of in the phone call format, somewhat like a radio show. But yeah, we want to do that eventually.
We've been getting a lot of requests for that. A lot of people listening have asked about being a guest on the show. We definitely want you guys to be guests on the show, particularly if you have a good perspective, or like if someone who'd been to a couple, all of, if not one of those 30th anniversary shows, for example.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Something like that. People who've done these meet and greet experiences with the band, or people who've done the Hardwired experience on the current tour, all that stuff. So we're trying to figure out the logistics of it. Once we crack the code on that, it will open up the floodgates, and we'll probably do that maybe even once a month. We'll do an episode just taking phone calls. Yeah,
it'd be really cool. So look forward to that. We're going to get that all rolling, and I think it'll be a good time. But in other news, let's get into the episode.
Yeah.
This is the What If episode, as we mentioned before. Let's just roll right into it. As I mentioned before, Clint threw it out there, and we got an overwhelming response on what if questions, so we'll jump right into it. I'm going to go ahead and start with, here's the screen name battle here. Mm-hmm. JMJ.
Try to say it, though. Origimj.
Origimj.
Or Ogrejimj.
Ogre Jim J.
What if that's that dude's first name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Ogre Jim J. OGRJMJ.
Okay.
What if Metallica never left LA for San Francisco?
That's a good question.
Well, I think they wouldn't have Cliff Burton.
Well, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. I think they still would have been an awesome band. Ron McGovney could have lasted longer. Mm-hmm. I know that they wanted to get rid of him because they felt like he was just tagging along, wasn't really contributing anything.
Right.
So maybe they would have got another bass player in LA. I don't know.
But I wonder if the LA was so saturated with schlocky, what they kind of describe as sort of the schlocky, shitty metal, that
gay LA metal.
Would they have been able to stand out more? Would they have gotten buried under that avalanche of shit? Because it does seem like them moving to San Francisco, in addition to finally connecting with Cliff, which seemed like lightning striking, it does seem like they were able to poke out more in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that was very oversaturated in Southern California. They probably, there's a good chance they wouldn't have had any traction down there. I mean, maybe there would have been an underground scene, and but I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, but kind of in relation to that one, he also asked, what if Ron McGovney never left the band?
Could Ron McGovney have really developed into one of the great metal bassists of all time?
I don't know. I mean, he's a solid bass player if you listen, to stuff he's played on.
Yeah, I agree.
But, like James and Lars have said, like, he wasn't contributing anything to the band. He was just kind of following their lead.
Yeah.
He wasn't proactive in the band. That's why they got rid of him and wanted to hire Cliff.
Yeah.
So I don't, my personal gut feeling would be they still would have been a band, but I think eventually they would have replaced them.
I agree, yeah. That one's a bit easier to answer than the LA San Francisco one. I don't know if they eventually would have moved to San Francisco, but they probably would
or picked another city.
Or moved, somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Des Moines.
Des Moines, yeah.
It was either San Francisco or Des Moines.
Yeah, they were torn.
It's tough.
John Paul asks, what if James and Lars never met up after seeing each other's ad in the newspaper?
Would they have formed different bands?
Maybe. They were both looking to form bands.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I don't think they would have. They may have met in the future if they both had bands in LA.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would venture to say that they both would have started their own bands, and in 2017 we wouldn't be talking about either of them.
My guess is that with Lars's drive and passion, that he would have done okay. He would have found some sort of success, and that with James's sort of raw talent, he also would have landed somewhere.
Yeah.
I think they both would have been okay.
But do you think they'd be they'd be in bands we'd be talking about now, or would they be kind of like?
Probably, I do think so.
Yeah,
I think Lars was going to take his talent for turning something into success into whatever band he got into, and I think James is going to bring the creative power to whatever band he got into. I think those dudes are special enough to guess that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, who knows? What would their bands be called?
Megadeth and Anthrax. I don't know. Okay, so Sean I815 asks, what if Dave Mustaine had answered Lars's ad and not James?
Interesting. I mean,
because Dave was in that band, Panic? What was the band Dave was in before he joined Metallica? I think it was called Panic.
I think so. We're gonna get an email about this.
For this.
It's Metallica 101, bro. Come on.
Oh, come on, man. I don't know. It's kind of ties into the above one too. I mean, I think they all would have landed somewhere.
Yeah, I think they would have. I mean, I think that Mustaine's ego still would have been too big for even just Lars.
And it does seem like Lars and Dave were buds. Remember that scene in Some Kind of Monster? He's like, "Oh, I just miss my little Danish friend.
It's my little Danish
Remember
friend.
we were just getting loaded on." We talked about them getting drunk, just
Yeah.
talking shit, and I haven't seen that little Danish guy in 15 years.
Oh, I love it.
Like, come on, Dave. Okay, I don't even know how to say this. Xoutas Zoidus Zautus asks, "What if Kirk Hammett never left Exodus? Can you imagine Toxic Waltz with Kirk?" And this is where I must confess that I don't know much about the music of Exodus, other than Kirk Hammett was in that band.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Toxic Waltz is.
I'm ashamed to admit that I have listened to Exodus, but I've never really gotten into them.
You know what I think? I think if Kirk never left Exodus, he'd probably still be in Exodus, because Exodus is...
They're still around.
They were an active band throughout. They just never really took off.
And unfortunately for Exodus, I mean, well, I guess maybe fortunately, I mean, I would say most people really know. They're a good band. Most people know them because a guy from Metallica was in Exodus. That has to have helped them over the years.
That's true. And, you know, like, me and Ethan were just looking at this. I bought Back to the Front. I bought the Master of Puppets book because someone in the forum hit me to the fact that right now, as of the recording of this podcast, it's on sale for $30. So, but anyway, in that book, there's just tons of pictures of them with the Exodus dudes. I mean, they seem like they were really tight.
Yeah, I think so.
But that is a good question. My answer to that would be that Kirk would probably still be in Exodus, because I think Kirk is really special in Metallica, but I'm not sure there's anything uniquely special enough where he would have been pulled elsewhere. I think he got really lucky that they invited him to be in the band. And I think once he got there, he kicked ass and made them part of the way they are.
Yeah, of course. All right, moving on. X Freddy Fazbear X straight edge. Freddy Fazbear is straight edge.
Okay.
What if James was the drunk one? Well, hang on.
He was.
They all were. Let me add in a word for you. What if James was the extra drunk one, and Dave kicked him out, thus making Dave on lead vocals, who went on to find Kirk Hammett.
Wow. So what if on that cross country trip that they made out to Johnny Z's, Lars and Dave got together and said, "Hey, we got to kick this James Hetfield guy out." Wow.
Yeah. I mean, at that point it's the beginning of their career, but at that point you're looking at changing lead singers.
Yeah,
they weren't established
but
yet.
Dave would have done it though, right?
Dave would have done it. Yeah. Obviously he did it with Megadeth, so he would have become the lead singer. But again, that goes back to one of the previous ones. I mean, I don't know if Dave, God bless him, he was reckless, and I mean, you watch anything on Megadeth, and that guy should have died a few times.
Yeah, totally.
More so than the guys in Metallica. So I think, could it have been cool? Absolutely. Mustaine's voice is definitely not for everybody.
I would be included maybe in that.
I love Megadeth personally, but there's some people that don't care for his voice. So
I'm not slagging him. I will say I'm glad that didn't happen.
I'm going to go ahead and say that too.
Yeah. All
right. John Matrix. There's an easy screen name. Thanks, John. John Matrix. What if they never saw Cliff Burton in the first place? What are the ramifications for both parties?
Well, I definitely think Cliff would have landed somewhere.
He absolutely would have. He was such a fantastic musician. I think Trauma probably would have gone on to do some cool stuff.
Because of Cliff.
Yeah. And again, back to Rama Governey, they still would have had him for a bit, but I would imagine the Metallica would have moved on to another bass player at that point.
I agree.
But that's one of those stars aligning moments that Hetfield and Lars were watching him play like randomly, like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? And asked him to be in the band.
Yeah, it's so crazy thinking about all the near misses,
Oh yeah.
And if you haven't been able to tell, by the way, I've kind of ordered these sort of chronologically through the band's career. That's why we're kind of top heavy on these questions up here, and you'll see us kind of progress through the career as we go. So, Ocean Machine and Ibrahim 5 ask, what if John Bush had accepted the invitation to join Metallica?
I mean, he's a badass.
He did it. I think we answered this in our Kill 'Em All, or one of our earlier episodes.
I think it was Ride the Lightning. Because he got asked to join after Kill 'Em All.
That's
which
right.
is crazy.
I think that I think they might have made a few records, but I don't think it would have lasted.
And John Bush is an amazing frontman, has a great voice.
Sure.
I mean, obviously the stuff with Anthrax, Armored Saint, whatever, but Yeah, it would have been cool. I mean, he made an appearance at the 30th anniversary shows,
and he kicked ass.
Kicked ass for sure.
But James Hetfield is a talented vocalist. He just needed to develop it. I think he would have eventually developed it, maybe slower.
Yeah,
because he wasn't forced to perform in front of people every night.
Right. I don't think Hetfield knew how good he was back then.
Can you imagine Hetfield just sitting out the Black Album?
Gosh.
It's like, no way, man.
Yeah,
he was gonna.
I'll just play a rhythm over here. All right, Guitar Man 122508. It's a lot of numbers.
122. We just 122,508.
Okay, 120. I like reading them out. It's funnier, I think. All right, Guitar Man 122508, or we could say Guitar Man 122,508.
That's probably what he meant.
That's probably what he meant. What if they fired Lars after the Ride the Lightning tour?
It's hard to imagine why they would have. I know there is speculation that there was talk between Cliff and James of firing Lars. No, maybe that is.
I think it was that tour.
Yeah, gosh.
Oh, man.
You know what they probably would have done? They probably would have gotten a more technically proficient drummer,
For sure.
but he wouldn't have been as special.
He wouldn't. I don't think there would have been, the drum parts that we have. Well, there obviously wouldn't have been, but we've talked about this before. Like, there's something about Lars not being the most
his limitations.
Technical drummer, that makes it special, and it makes it, so that nowadays we're sitting here like singing his drum parts, stuff like that.
Right.
You could go, you know what that is.
And not to mention, he is one of the two masterminds who arranged these songs.
Yep.
So even if, we could probably talk for a long time about what's good and bad about his drumming, but what is kind of indisputable is he's a great song arranger.
Yeah, he is. And you've said this before, and I will say it forever, is that dude, he's always giving 110%.
100%.
Always.
Yep. He's the hero of Metallica. He's the champion of Metallica.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, moving on. Lily 47 asks, what if the band split after Cliff's death? What would have been James's career? That's an interesting take on that question.
Yeah. If the band, so we're here we are, Cliff has passed away, the band is like, we're done.
Yeah.
So that would have, left him with 3 albums out.
Yeah.
They're no more. I mean, even them staying together, they were super depressed, did way more drugs, drank way more, all that stuff. I feel like, I don't know what his career would be, off the top of my head, but I would imagine that, like, James especially would have been in depression. And
yeah.
I don't know how dark that would get, but
it's like, hopefully he would have been able to channel it into more music. Also, James is a pretty talented graphic designer. I think his mom did that, and he designed the Metallica logo and a lot of the early flyers, and he's gone on to design a lot of, like, he did the Scary Dude and the Ninja Star, and maybe he could have had an alternative universe, lifestyle, transgender. Sorry.
What would Kirk go do?
What would Kirk? Oh, God.
He'd just go live on the beach and surf every day.
Just surf forever.
Ride unicorns.
He just ride unicorns, man.
Yeah.
UJJ Wallaka, who we've had before in our episode, UJJ Wallaka 182 asks, what if Cliff was still alive and had lost only an arm due to the accident? Well, he would have been fired.
Well, he would be playing bass.
What if Hetfield had also lost an arm at the pyro incident? He would have just be a singer.
He would just be a singer, and I'm sure Jim Marshall would be the guitar player.
And he wrote, these what ifs sound horrible. Sorry. Yeah, man.
Well,
UJJ Wallaka taking us on a walk down the goddamn dark path.
You made us laugh.
That was good.
All right, here we go. Rock the Red 24 says, replace what if Cliff didn't die with what if Kirk won the card game and died instead? Well,
I think Kirk did win the card game. Didn't Kirk win the card game? And that's how he
chose. No. Cliff won. Cliff chose Kirk's bunk.
Okay.
That's
whoever won got to choose the bunk, and Cliff chose the one that
he chose Kirk's. So if they never would have done that, it would have been Kirk's bunk.
Wow. Well, it is a morbid what if, but
it is very morbid.
I don't even know if I want to speculate, because it's.
Do you think
it would have been a tragic loss, no matter what?
Of course. Let me ask this. Because at that point, that was 86, so Megadeth was still a pretty new band. Do you think they would have reached back out to Mustaine?
I don't think so, man.
No.
I just think there was so much bad blood in those early days.
Yeah.
They probably would have gotten someone new.
Yeah. And again, they wouldn't be the band they are today.
Okay.
Wow. I can't believe you landed the screen name, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. That's amazing.
Nice.
What if Lars never recovered from his leg injuries from the bus accident? Well, here we go again. He wouldn't be playing drums.
Probably wouldn't be playing the drums. Or if you pulled a Def Leppard, Def Leppard one-arm drummer.
No leg drummer? I mean, it'd be...
Well, he might have one leg.
Yeah, let's say, leg injuries. Okay, it could be just one. Let's say it's one leg, and he could do a Rick Allen thing.
Well, because I think he broke his toe, or he had like a toe injury.
His pinky toe. His pinky toe.
Can't play the double kick drum for at least 6 months. I feel...
I know.
So
his next name.
Handjob, spelled Hanjaub, which is kind of his classic Reddit user name. This is from Reddit, this dude. Handjob, which he means handjob. Unless his name is Handjob, in which case I apologize.
Yeah, sorry, Handjob.
What if the band heard their future albums before time? Like, what would 1986 James think if he was told, here, listen to Load? That's an interesting question. My guess would be he would not like it.
I think, if it was, 1986 James, I think he'd be like, whoa, what is this?
I think he would react much the way a lot of fans who were stuck in 1986 react to Load and Reload.
Of course, yeah. Well, but, you and I are musicians and songwriters and whatever, and from personal experience, the older you get, your musical tastes change. You get into things that...
You evolve.
Yeah, you get into things that 15-year-old Ethan or Clint would be like, what the hell? I'm not going to listen to that. So, totally. I think to answer your question, I don't think he would like Load or Reload.
I mean, he grew from listening to just the new wave of British heavy metal and Misfits and stuff.
Right, exactly.
To listening to Tom Waits and Alice in Chains. And
he's super into country music and
all that shit. So he probably would have slagged it, but if his 1996 self could go talk to his 1986 self, he'd probably say, relax, man.
Hey, man, trust me.
Just trust me.
It's going to be fine.
Trust me.
All right. ArtStar70 says, what if Jason's bass wasn't lost in the mix of Injustice for All? Oh, well, there'd be bass on the record.
Yeah. But here's the implication of that question is some people think that the lack of bass was part of the hazing process.
Sure.
Fast forward to 2003 or to whatever, the early aughts when Jason was leaving. Could you really trace the thread back to the lack of bass on Justice? Is that just like one of the little Jenga pieces that made it all fall,
I mean, maybe. I mean, Jason clearly, I'm sure he was upset about it, but he wasn't upset enough to leave shortly after that. I mean,
did it just fester all those years?
Maybe. I mean, he's, there's obviously more recent interviews, him being asked about, the Injustice for Jason stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's accepted it. Like, what, that record is what it is.
I agree.
And it's part of the sound of that record, and it's a great record, and I got to be a part of it.
Man, I'm looking forward to their reissue of that record, because they may...
Do you think they'll do it? Do you think they'll remix it?
They might.
Like Fleming?
I know James has come out and basically said that, like, this idea of re-recording it or changing it, he rejects because it's like it's a snapshot of time,
sure,
even with all of its flaws. And I get that,
of course, yeah.
But it'd be cool if they did two versions.
That would be awesome, yeah. If they did two remasters and one of them,
because the bass exists. I mean, it's on tape.
Oh yeah, well, and they wouldn't even have to do like a crazy remix. They would just have to pull up the tracks,
just pull the level up,
just pull that one fader on the console up, just a little bit, a couple dB.
I know I would like to hear it.
I would love to hear it. There are things around the internet with the bass ups. Obviously, that people have recorded it themselves, but
I don't want to hear that.
I found a couple things that says Jason's actual tracks, and you listen to it, and I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's somebody who's good at mastering that's able to kind of pull that stuff out of it. I don't know.
I don't think you can do that in mastering. You can't do it that drastically.
I don't know. I just want to hear it as it. I want to hear it pre-mix essentially.
Yeah, me too. Our friend Melody in J, who's a friend of the show, asks, did I jump ahead? I'm on the right thing, right?
Yeah, you're on the right thing.
Melody asks, what if Metallica didn't change their style of music and just played thrash metal to please their fans? Would they have faded out? I was young when Black Album was kind of changing the thrash game. So I don't remember how well. It seems to me like bands that did stay thrash did not do well.
Right.
It seemed like once Pantera happened and groove metal and just the 90s in general started to happen, the death of 80s hair shit, It seemed like you kind of had to evolve, Yeah,
you had to evolve. I mean, like all of the, all but Slayer, I guess, of the big four bands did a Black Album-ish record, Anthrax did Persistence of Time. and Megadeth was Countdown to Extinction, which were not thrash records.
Right.
So, but we've talked about it before. I think there's so much on the first 4 records that's not thrash. It was inevitable.
I agree.
I think they were going to do something more like that. I mean, you listen to Fade to Black and Sanitarium and stuff like that, and To Live Is to Die.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stuff that's not thrash on those records.
Harvester of Sorrow, that intro, the
I would say
intro,
the only,
in Justice for All.
Full-on thrash Metallica record is Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I think maybe they would have faded out a little bit if they just stuck with the same formula. I think they needed something different.
Or maybe they would have done kind of what Iron Maiden has done, where they just sort of have that classic power metal thing, and they're not in the mainstream at all, but they're able to sell out, and they have such a rabid...
Yeah.
Like Iron Maiden never really had to evolve.
No, pretty much all the records sound like Iron Maiden.
And so AC/DC is the same way,
Yep.
But that is an interesting question. Ocean Machine asks, what if instead of going for a simpler heavy metal route on the Black Album, they kept going with the more technical thrash style of Justice for All? That's a similar question to Melodies.
Yeah.
I think there are hints of it. Holier Than Thou and Struggle Within
yeah.
could have been on Justice. I know that for me, I prefer the evolution of Metallica.
I do too, yeah.
I listen to Kill 'Em All the least. I like it. I love it even. I think it kicks ass. But I listen to Black Album way more than Kill 'Em All.
Yeah. And I think, you have to kind of point out like what people's definition of thrash is. Is it like Slayer, where it's just like fast drum beats the whole time like crazy?
Right.
Because I think there's stuff that...
Like blast beat, speed metal.
Yeah. To me, it doesn't have to be
I agree.
that tempo to be thrash metal. There's stuff
Right. No Remorse is thrash.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree.
Vader Man, VHR Man, Vader Man. What if they never took on Bob Rock?
Wow, I think we would have a lot of different music.
We would have a way different album.
I really do.
Like the songs were there. They had these songs written for the Black Album.
Right. So that,
for the most part.
So that's true. I mean,
that's there, but what
how
if...
much could you fuck up Enter Sandman?
What if Fleming did the record? I mean, how much different would it sound... I mean, Bob Rock also, is coming off like Dr. Feelgood and stuff.
Right. Man, I'm tempted to say that Bob Rock is as important to that band as Cliff was, like, in a sense.
I mean...
You know what I mean?
Some people would say that, he was the producer that made them sell out, so to speak, which I hate, of course. But.
I think James and Lars, where if you look at what they were talking about, it's one of the reasons they hired Bob Rock, actually, is because they wanted a guy that could help take them to the masses. I think that James and Lars decided themselves, without fucking Bob Rock, that they were ready to take Metallica to the world.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that would have happened regardless. I'm so glad it did happen with Bob Rock.
Yeah, I think there still would have been all those Black Album songs if they went with somebody else, but it wouldn't sound nearly what it sounds like. The song development would be a lot different. You wouldn't have that amazing Unforgiven solo.
Oh my gosh.
The one that, Bob Rock pushed and nagged Kurt to finally get.
Yep.
It would be a lot different. I don't think it would sound nearly as good. I think it,
I agree.
Could be like maybe that would have been their Saint Anger.
Who would have been other like massive producers at that time to get? Like I don't even know if I know.
Could have done Rick Rubin back then. He was doing big records.
He was doing Slayer.
He did
Rain and Blood.
He did, not that it's metal, but he was doing big bands like Chili Peppers.
He did
Beastie
Blood,
Boys,
Sugar, Sex Magic.
Yep.
Yeah, License to Ill. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
John Matrix.
Oh, John Matrix again.
Yeah, here we are again. John Matrix. Metallica considered using Holier Than Thou as the lead single for the Black Album. What if they had? Would it have made any difference?
Ooh.
That's a great what if.
Because what if the first single had just totally tanked?
Holier Than Thou is one of the more thrashier ones in that record. So
it's the one Bob Rock wanted.
Exactly.
I think it was a real smart move not to release Holier Than Thou.
I agree. As much as I love that song.
Because here's what it would have done. Bob Rock was maybe thinking, well, I want to just ease all of their fans into it, but then they would have gotten it, and it's really the only song, and maybe Struggle Within, maybe Through the Never that sounds thrashy, and it would have been kind of like bummed people out even more.
Yeah, it may have. I think releasing that as the first single also would have just, at least upon hearing it for the first time, it's just another Metallica record.
Yeah.
Because that riff is very old school Metallica.
I wonder if it would have done well as a single, though. I mean, because I love that song.
Of course, yeah.
I think it might have done okay, but you put it up against Enter Sandman in terms of commercial appeal, there's no fucking question.
Agreed, yeah. It's a good question, though.
Great question.
A good what if.
Lily47 once again asks, what if they ended the collaboration with Bob Rock after the Black Album? Well, I think a lot of Metallica fans would have been real happy.
Yep.
What if James... and then of course we wouldn't have probably gotten what we got the way that it, because I love that Load and Reload, yes, it's Metallica doing slower sort of stoner rock, but it's got that Bob Rock heaviness to it.
It does. I love, especially, I mean, the drum sounds on those, the snare sound is so good.
I agree. He's like the glue of that time.
Yep.
They also go on to ask, what if James never fully recovered his guitar skills after his various accidents, broken wrists, severe burns?
Again, I think if it got to the point where he couldn't perform, I think they would have had a guy like, his tech, Jim Marshall, like coming in there and just playing, and he would be just a front man.
Yeah,
which is a little awkward looking, but I think he would have eventually owned it. And
if that was what they had to do to keep the Metallica machine churning, that's what they would have done.
Totally.
Spudman246 asks, what if the Black Album was never released? Well,
so now does that mean you go from Injustice for All to Load?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only way to really. Because it is kind of, I mean, maybe what this person's asking is, what if their biggest album, what if they never had an album that big?
Yeah. I mean, they'd still be a big band.
I think they'd be fine.
They'd be a big band. They wouldn't be what they are now. They
Totally.
wouldn't have sold, over 100 million records or whatever. But,
I agree.
They would still be, I'd still think they'd be bigger than like Slayer and Anthrax and Megadeth.
I do too. They were already, I think they already started to eclipse those bands, definitely by Puppets.
Oh, yeah.
People are like, Rain and Blood or Puppets. It's like, really? Puppets for me anyway.
Yeah. All right, Stephanie in Tech says, what if Lars and James were into country instead of metal? Would they be the biggest country artist of all time?
Well, James is in the country.
He is in the country, but instead of metal.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, they probably.
Well, what's the biggest country artist of all time, or one of? You have obviously there's the Johnny Cashes and stuff, like Garth Brooks. Let's say that's kind of 90s.
Or like, is there a country band that's massive? Or like Leonard Skinner, or like
I wouldn't call them country, like Southern
rock. Yeah. I see. That's what I mean. There's such a vague genre. Like I could see James and Lars being in a Skinner type of like Southern rock swagger band.
Definitely, yeah. I can't. I mean, as much as I'm sure James loves Johnny Cash, I can't see him doing like a Tennessee 3 style kind of stuff.
Right. I can't either. It's too hard to imagine. It's a good question though.
Yeah, it is a good question. Hardwired to Self-Destruct and LTBR55 said, what if Load Reload were on one album? And in parentheses, had to be that guy.
Well, we're gonna do. We're gonna do a whole episode on that.
That's in relation to another what if. I've done this. I've made my own playlist of what I call reload. So I'm assuming that's what we'll call the episode.
Well, in honor of our friend Paul, we have to call it Unload, though. That's
true. We'll talk about that joke later.
Yeah. We're not dodging this question. It's just that we're going to do an actual full-on episode on this.
Yes, we are.
And Ethan's been telling me, I don't know if he's mentioned on the show, but he's been listening to Load and Reload a little bit.
Okay,
and been getting pretty excited.
I am, because I have to admit, I did write those records off when they first came out. Other than a couple of the singles, like obviously Fuel, Memory Remains,
Unforgiven
like
2, maybe.
I liked Unforgiven 2. Some of the other stuff, I would get to the chorus and like, gosh, I'm not really feeling this, but
now you've gotten bitten by the Load Reload bug,
dude. Yeah.
Did you ever grow up hearing that phrase?
No.
Got bit by the bug? Is that like a Southern
got bit
name?
by the bug. I think you meant, did you hear that phrase, got bit by the Load Reload bug?
No. I don't think anyone's ever said it. But it's like, he done went and got bit by the Load and Reload bug.
Load Reload bug.
Now he's done bit with it.
Tell you what. Yeah, so sorry we can't fully answer that. But I will say this. I think that you can definitely narrow down 12 to 14 tracks and make it a really kick-ass record.
Yeah, you can, but I gotta say, even the turds on those records, I still like them.
Well, that's the record you got into.
I still like them. Okay, Burgermeister, not Meister.
The Burgermeister.
Burgermeister.
Oh, so say Burgermeister? I think with my hoarse voice, I could do a much better Torben tonight.
Yeah, you're like a Torben who like smoked too many cigars or something.
Well, I was listening to or watching stuff with him in it, and I definitely do a way higher pitch version of Torben, but it's cool. It's my version. I'm making Torben my own.
Oh man, you're an artist, bro. So Burgermeister asks, what if they were still in the Load and Reload era of wearing eyeliner, furs, and hipster clothing, looking all grunge, and not the metal badasses they are?
First of all, I wouldn't. I mean, was that hipster back then? I don't know. I think that was just the trend.
That's what everyone thinks. I don't really remember that being the. I mean, I was online at this point.
You remember them like?
I remember the eyeliner. I mean, I remember
Kirk's,
the way
like labret piercing. And
I remember
stuff.
the way they looked. I just don't remember them looking like lots of other bands when they were doing it.
I think Kirk
I really don't.
and Lars were the only ones that really kind of like Hetfield still just wore all black. Like
was it them trying to look like Scott Weiland? Or, like who were they? Who do people say they're trying to emulate? Because no one ever gives examples. People say that Load and Reload sounds like them trying to sound like Alice in Chains. No, that doesn't sound like Alice in Chains.
no,
to me.
not at all.
You can't get away with that with me anymore because I actually listen to fucking Alice in Chains.
Right. Totally.
Like, they were just trying to look like everyone else. Well, I was listening to 90s music then, and I don't remember bands looking like that.
I don't think I think they just kind of tried to do their own thing, and it was different from what they did in like
and it
the
may
80s
even have been a
90s.
misstep, but I think it was just them. I don't know,
you know
man.
what?
I recently watched that Motherload shit,
Yeah.
and like Kirk with his short hair, with his kind of like pointy hair, and
Yeah.
and like Lars wearing fur and shit. I kind of dig it, man.
I mean,
I actually dig it.
I can't
dude.
say I dig it, but I can say that again, it's it's an era of Metallica that was, and they're good records. And you know what? Do yourself a favor. Why don't you go back 15 years and look at the clothes you wore?
Yeah, no shit.
And let's talk.
Yeah, go look at the pictures of you with eyeliner on in
Yeah,
1995.
then email us.
I mean, you remember the phase where like Lars had a mustache and they just looked like straight up rednecks?
Yeah.
I like this phase a lot better because they look like fucking rock stars.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Phantom Lord 3, who's a friend of the podcast, asks, what if Metallica kept their early 90s Black Album image, long hair, black on black on black, through the Load Reload era? Would the reception have been better? That's a great question.
That is a good question. I think it would have helped because that was a big deal when they changed their image.
It
and
was
they
like
cut their hair.
it was like a full-on assault, image, sound.
From Alice in Chains. Remember the Alice in Chains Unplugged?
Yeah.
Friends don't let friends
Yeah,
get
yeah.
friends haircuts. I
Right.
mean, another big band was calling them out on it.
So they're trying to fucking copy Alice in Chains, and Alice in Chains are making fun of them.
Exactly.
Why would I hate that argument.
I mean, I think the reception, yeah, it probably would have been a little bit better.
Maybe just a little bit though, because I do think at the end of the day, it really is about music, and the
is.
music was different.
It was different.
I get it. Until It Sleeps was the first single,
Yeah.
and Until It Sleeps is very, very different.
The fretless bass on the intro.
One of my favorite songs of theirs, by the way, coincidentally.
All right. RPT 319 said, "What if Mama Said had topped the country charts?"
Ooh, that would have been great.
That would have been so cool.
Because the video is kind of just James in that car.
Yeah. Oh man, that would have been so cool. I've said it before. I think that James needs to do a countryside project.
Me too, man.
Produced by T-Bone Burnett or something. Just
Yeah.
something.
I would love it.
Kind of that outlaw country thing, I guess. But all right. Mano Phantom.
Fathom?
Mano Fathom. Mano Fathom.
Man of Atom.
I like Mano Fathom.
Man of Fathom.
Man of Atom. What if Load hadn't been accompanied by an image change? Would metalheads have cared?
Oh, I guess kind of the same
Kind of the
question.
same question. So,
I think they ultimately would have cared that the music was different.
well, think about what they thought of the Black Album. Like certain metalheads that wanted the thrash sound, they're like, "Oh, look,
know.
they sold out," but they still had long hair and were headbanging. And
Right, that's true.
But yeah,
I saw someone say recently, they were like, man, I like Mama Said, just get those steel sounding guitars out. That
you mean the cool guitars?
I'm like, those are like the best part of the song.
I know. It's no hurdy-gurdy, but
Well, few things are hurdy-gurdy. Okay, Ibanez 400 asks, what if there was a new S&M, Greg producing it? Ooh, what would be on it?
ooh,
Well, we're going to do a whole episode on a reimagining S&M 2.
man.
Because I
I
mean,
would
I can tell you,
love for them to do another one.
well, I can tell you right off the bat, in my perfect version of part 2, because I love the first one, they're opening with Orion.
Oh, that would be such a good intro.
There's going to be Creeping Death, Fade to Black, Orion, Harvester of Sorrow, Dream
Yeah.
No More, Moth in the Flame.
Could you imagine The Day That Never Comes with an orchestra?
Oh, beautiful! Like that would be my pick for Death Magnetic. Maybe that was just your life also, or Unforgiven 3. What if they did?
Unforgiven 3. What if they did the trilogy?
Unforgiven 3 fucking trilogy.
That would be so
gotta
badass.
happen. Anyway, we'll do a whole episode on that because that's a ripe for
Oh
the
yeah,
picking.
that's going to be one that we're going to definitely sit down and watch together before we record the episode because it's so exciting.
But I'm not even talking about a whole episode on an imagining of a second version.
Yeah, I'm down.
where Ethan's going to make his own track list. I'm going to make my own track list.
Oh man, that'd be so.
And then whoever's
fun.
track list is better has to kill and eat the other one.
Does it have to be all songs that weren't on the first one?
Absolutely has
No
to be that.
repeats.
Absolutely no
Okay.
repeats. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
All right, Geek Out.
Geek out, man.
This is cut off.
Oh no. Is it? Oh shit. Oh no, it's not. Look on the next page.
I am.
And who would Geek Out ask? And who would do it? Hans Zimmer, another cinematic powerhouse.
Oh, this is a follow up to the previous question.
Yes.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Sorry about that.
I was just looking at it. Okay, so in response, who would do it? Hans Zimmer. Okay.
Because Michael Kamen has passed away.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't be able to, do the orchestral pieces.
Right.
So who would do it?
John Williams.
Dude, can you imagine that?
That'd be so cool.
Hans Zimmer would be cool too, man. Though.
Yeah.
Okay. Dennis Muraviv asks, have you pre-read this question?
No, I just looked at it.
He asks, what if the Outlaw Torn was on SNL?
He also typed out a smiley face. Oh,
that's a good one for you, Ethan.
Dennis, you. Well, I'd like to think that there'd be an orchestra there, and it would be in San Francisco, and it would be on the album.
I love that that's just a thing.
I know, it's a thing. It's totally
a thing now.
Yeah.
All right.
Pontus 4 says, what if Lars Ulrich did not go to war with Napster after the I Disappear leak, but instead bought Napster, revamped into a legit streaming music service long before Spotify and Tidal?
Wow. Because, him going after Napster was him sort of having some foresight into what was potentially very dangerous about it.
Yeah. I think that would have been a great idea.
But that's some hindsight shit right there, because that was just like brand new, scary stuff.
Streaming didn't really take off till a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I remember when that became a thing, I didn't care for it at all.
Well, because the Napster thing wasn't streaming; it was file sharing.
It's file sharing,
which is a whole different animal.
But that is a really good question.
Great question.
And I think I've brought this up before. Do yourself a favor and look it up. There is, I think it's a Charlie Rose interview. Mm-hmm. You can find it on YouTube or whatever. It's Lars and Chuck D talking about the whole Napster
because
issue.
Chuck D was one of the people, like Public Enemy were one of the.
They were with
cool. Metallica. But James has come out and said, I think he said it on the Joe Rogan podcast, where he said, at the time, a lot of people like Dr. Dre and especially a lot of hip hop guys were backing them, but were afraid to come out.
Well, Chuck D, they weren't necessarily like backing Metallica. Like he was there as like a devil's advocate,
like a foil.
Public Enemy was more like going with it. Like Chuck D makes a bunch of great points.
This is the future, and we have to.
He kind of says like this is where things are going if you don't adapt. Like,
so it's almost like a panel.
It's really cool. It's just the two of them and Charlie Rose talking. It's well worth your watch.
Well, I know James said that like Dr. Dre, they were having all these like sort of backroom conversations where artists like as big as Dr. Dre was massive at the time. Well, not as big as his early Chronic days, but still big. Like he like broke Eminem and shit.
A huge producer.
And they were saying like, man, we love what you guys are doing, keep it up, but they were too scared to alienate their fans. Right. And Metallica was like, we were big enough where we could kind of take that risk and survive it. And they did. And kudos to them, man.
100% did. Ferox. What if the Presidio sessions had been completed and James never went to rehab? I think that
there's a lot of speculation about those Presidio sessions.
I've gone online and listened to kind of leaked stuff that's all incomplete kind of songs and stuff.
Where fans have looped it.
Yeah, things like that. And you know what? There's a lot of comments like on videos of that stuff and audio files I've seen, and a lot of people are like, this stuff's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I have to disagree. I think a lot of it, there's some cool riffs in there and cool parts, but not that when James got back from rehab and we got Saint Anger, like that was amazing, but there's just a lot of gibberish in there, I think.
Well, someone emailed us named Vinny, who is just like apparently an expert on this Presidio session stuff. Yeah. And he's definitely going to be our guest when we get that up and running on our Presidio sessions episode, because this dude is like, it's like his holy grail is sort of unearthing the mystery, because he says a lot of people sort of falsely assume that Saint Anger is kind of just the finished Presidio recordings, but he believes that there's enough evidence to suggest that there's tons of material that just got buried,
like a whole nother record.
And my question is, if it sounds like the logical extension of Load and Reload, then I'm in 100% in wanting to hear that shit. But it doesn't sound like that's the case from what you've heard.
Yeah, the put together fan stuff. I think a lot of it is just audio pulled from the documentary.
Okay. Like that weird the delete that scene.
Right.
That real echoey.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, there's just not a lot of stuff in there that got me excited. But Vinny, if you're listening, Hey, convince us. I would love to talk to you and hear your theories on this, because I've so far I've not been sold on the Presidio sessions.
And Ferox, I would say to the James going to rehab, it does seem like, as a human being, from what I can tell, going to rehab was a good thing for James.
Very, very much so, yeah.
So who will ever know how much it did or did not change the music for better or worse?
I mean,
but
they could have broken up at that point. They were on the brink of it.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, that was a big part of why they stayed together, was James getting clean and stuff. So that we could not have Saint Anger, Death Magnetic, or Hardwired.
And I gotta say, like, I prefer the last 15 years of James in terms of, like, him being a little, like, man, even watching that Mother Lode, like, James in the mid-90s seemed kind of like a dick.
A little bit. I mean, he's still a badass, but...
Well, that was kind of part of it, right? So that's what you kind of lose when he becomes the nice guy.
Totally.
But now we have Hardwired, and
I think James is still a badass, and
I do too.
I like that. I like sober James. I like that he has this sense of humor. Like when you see a lot of old footage of them in the '80s, and they're just goofing around and stuff. I like that he kind of has that. From time to time, it can get a little corny, but I mean, I back it. I'm more than proud of that guy for getting clean. It's been like 15 years now.
Yeah, I agree.
Good for him. Snake Charmer says, what if James had allowed Jason to release the Echo Brain album?
I don't think it would have been a big deal at all.
I don't think it would have been a big deal whatsoever. And also, he could have released it. I think it was more of a matter of management. Metallica's management was going to manage Jason on the Echo Brain project, and James stepped in and said no. So he could have
he did release it.
He did release it, yeah. So yeah, I'm not trying to correct your what if.
Well, I think what they mean is what if James,
he was behind it, he was cool with
hadn't blocked Q Prime from pushing it, had really let Jason sort of explore the side project. I don't think it would have meant shit to the machine of Metallica.
And Jason said that before.
Yeah, I think everything James was afraid of would not have come true.
No, I mean, I think maybe that, a lot of that back then was a result of him just being an alcoholic and being kind of crazy, and like maybe that's another one of those little things on the chalkboard of why he needed to get sober. He made a big deal out of nothing.
Right.
I mean, James Hetfield from Metallica made a big deal about Echo Brain.
Right. It's insane.
It wouldn't have done anything to Metallica. Like, Metallica fans would have been like, all right, fuck Metallica, we're going to Echo Brain now. That wasn't going to happen.
I've been waiting my whole life to hear this Echo Brain thing.
Finally.
Fuck you guys, Metallica. Okay, which kind of does lead to the next inevitable question that we got from Razor Orion, Fem2, and Joshua Metallica Fan, which I do got to give a shout out to Joshua Metallica Fan, who is a young kid in the UK who's all over the Metallica forum. This kid loves the shit out of this band.
Awesome.
Very passionate.
I was just in the UK. We should have hung out.
Yeah. So just want to give a shout out to Joshua Metallica Fan. So all three of these folks ask, and this is, the big, we addressed this in our Jason episode, but what if Jason had never left the band? Oh, man. Let's start with the positive. We wouldn't have gotten Robert, who has been a great asset to the band.
Yeah, great bass player. Honestly, I think there would probably be more creative input on the last couple records. I
agree.
Obviously, the bass play would have been completely different because Jason's a
different bass
player and a different person. But live, I think the backup vocals would be a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
No disrespect to Robert, but Jason owned it. He was the best.
And we've talked about it before, but maybe we can explore a little more. Like, what do you think Jason would have made of the whole Saint Anger debacle?
I feel like I think he would have been in the middle of James and Lars in those arguments. Like,
I agree, more than Kirk was.
Way more than Kirk.
And I think he would have been supportive of James going to rehab.
Yep.
But he was so against Phil. Remember when he said, like, this is fucking lame.
Yeah.
After all the things we've been through and gajillions of dollars and
yeah, this is what was happening.
Yeah.
I think, there's a good chance that Jason could have been the Phil.
Ooh.
Maybe Jason would have
Towell
somehow put a stop to a freaking therapist coming in and said, look, I'll deal with this. Like,
but you know what though? Like, in order for that to have really been the case, there would have had to have been a lot more respect from James towards Jason that I don't think existed.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
it's such a bummer. I wish that part of me, this could be another what if. Like, what if James got sober during Load Reload?
Whatever that fire he was in, it's almost worth it to get me to get fucking Fixer and Outlaw Torn. But I do think about when Kirk is like, with the big scene where Lars is like, oh, you're just being a dick. There is a scene where with Kirk, and there's no power in it, but he's like, guys, why don't we just go in there and bang it out?
Yeah.
And James is like, why? I'm in a shit mood. We're not going to
Yeah.
get anything done. It's just like Kirk's just trying. It's just like a fucking pebble in a waterfall. You know?
I know,
like,
totally. I really felt for Kirk.
I appreciate his spirit.
Of course, yeah.
Dude, there's a fucking... I just rewatched Some Kind of Monster because it's on Netflix now. There's
Yeah.
a fucking hilarious scene where James comes back from rehab and he's wanting to put that time limit on. Like, we work from noon to 6 or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, I don't want you guys working on stuff when I'm gone. And Lars is like, why not? We can't listen. I can't listen with Bob, whatever. And James goes, because I feel like when I come in, you guys have made decisions and I'm out of the loop. And it's just like an uphill battle for me. And I'm so proud of Kirk. Kirk looks right at James and goes, yeah, that's kind of like what I've been doing the last 15 years.
Ooh, he finally stepped up a little bit.
And he just gets completely ignored. But he threw it
Right.
out there. I was like, damn,
It's
burn,
kind of
Kirk.
still going on too.
It was a great point, though.
Yeah,
All right,
totally.
Where are we at? Okay. Crentist the Dentist,
Okay, Crentis the dentist.
which I think is from The Office. What if early demos of I Disappear were never leaked on Napster? What if the song was just the first of an entire new album they ended up putting out? I will say I Disappear does kind of feel like it's in the load reload camp of sounding tune.
It is. I don't love
I know
that
you're not a
song.
big fan
I don't
of
really
it.
care for it.
I don't mind it. I don't put it on, but if it's on, if it comes up on shuffle or something, I'm,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, if it never leaked on Napster, obviously, there wouldn't have been that whole era of Lars battling
Was it I
them.
Disappear that really kind of broke the
I think
levee
that was
on that?
that's kind of what like shed the light on it. Like, okay, what is this? What's happening? You
Right.
know? If it was the first of an entire new album, well, I would say if it was the first of an entire new
I'd
album,
rather
it
hear
would-
that record than Saint Anger.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, it'd be much better than Saint Anger.
Yeah.
But good question for
Which,
sure.
listen, we know we slag Saint Anger almost every episode.
But
we
just
know
wait.
we know there are a lot of you who really like that record,
Yeah.
and I just want to say we respect it. That's fine. It isn't going to change my opinion.
Right.
And there will come the episode where Ethan and I are going to have to dive headfirst into that motherfucker.
We're gonna, yeah, it's gonna. I will admit,
But we're gonna do it right.
It's gonna be tough for me to dive into,
But
it,
we're
I'm
gonna do
do
it.
We'll
We're
do it
gonna do
right.
it.
I'll listen to it at least once.
Okay. Ocean Machine asks, what if Jason decided to go through with coaching with Phil Towle and the rest of the band?
Oh, well, there you go.
I can't imagine anything negative coming from that. That might have been a positive experience.
Yeah. So coaching with him.
I just mean, like, you know, Phil wanted, you know, when Phil was at that meeting
Right.
and Jason was like, get out. Maybe if Jason had been more open to Phil being there, more open to the process of therapy,
Right. Maybe.
that could have smoothed some of these rough edges.
Yeah, it's very possible.
I mean, if I have a time machine and it's only dedicated to Metallica
Yeah.
timeline, I'm willing to do anything. Almost like me talking about a marriage. I'm willing to do anything to keep Jason in that band.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Jason seems like a pretty no BS kind of guy. Like, you know, even him talking about the therapist coming in, like, really? Like, we can't just talk about this, you know? Anyways, the Taimi,
Taimi?
Taimi,
The Taimi.
the Taimi. What if they had taken a 6-month break and apologized to Jason and still been together?
Well, I think a 6-month break would have been maybe not 6 months, but maybe a little bit more of a breather than they did take.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of a break would have kept Jason around.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I mean,
Well, it sounds like he was asking for a year,
that's true. He did 1 year break. That's right.
which I think is unreasonable. I agree with James. I mean, I never heard that, so I didn't know he asked for an entire year off from
Yeah,
Metallica.
and on top of that it was to focus on Echo Brain.
I mean, that kind of sheds some new light on why James might have been a little clingy.
Right.
Doesn't excuse his behavior, but
Then this goes right into continues here. Fade to Black 68. What if Metallica never met Phil?
see, now I think that Phil was dubious and had a strange effect on Metallica, but they have actually said subsequently that, you know, he kept the band together.
Yeah, as much as you watch that documentary and you're just like, oh my god, get him out of
I
there.
hate this
And
fucker.
his sweaters, you know.
Cosby sweater.
But you know what? There's, yeah, you're right. There might be a big reason that he was there, and that's why Metallica's still there.
Well, and all we really have is the film, which is edited from so much footage.
Of
I
course,
did read.
yeah.
There is a good book about the making of the film that the filmmakers released. It actually does shed some interesting light on Phil being actually kind of more of a nuisance than a help. But
Okay.
to me, it comes through in the film.
Sure. All right. Melody, NJ, New Jersey. Again.
Poland, New Jersey.
That's right, Poland, New Jersey. Beautiful place. What if James didn't go to rehab? Would the band have broken up? Would they have just pushed through, finished the album, and gone their separate ways? I think they
I don't know, man. I think Lars is willing to keep it together, and I think Kirk was just sort of wallflower.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I think it could have gone either way. I mean,
think-
they were on the brink of like breaking up at that point. I mean,
I think it's up to James. I think if James wants to be in Metallica and keep Metallica, Lars and Kirk are going to put up with whatever.
but if James didn't go to rehab, like I don't know if he would, 15 years later now, I don't think he would have like the mental energy to write what he's writing now.
I think
If he was still an alcoholic right now and like drinking like crazy, would he be writing Hardwired?
I agree. I think that rehab was inevitable. Now, the question of the timeline of it, is interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Hardwired to Self-Destruct asks, what if Les Claypool became the bassist when he auditioned? What do you think about that?
Well, I do like Primus.
I like Primus, yeah. I don't think it would have been a good fit.
I don't think it would have been a good fit either.
Technically a great player.
Very, very good. Very innovative, very unique.
That's true. He could have brought a lot of creative flavor to the
Now,
band.
maybe Les Claypool, being as skilled as he is, would have adapted to the style of music.
Sure.
But had that technical part of him. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's a tough one.
Piggybacking on that, Joshua, Metallica fan again, asks, what if Bob Rock was kept as the bass player?
I wouldn't have been super stoked on that.
Nah, I don't like his look.
Yeah, if you watch the footage of like when they played at San Quentin, and Bob Rock's on bass because they're still in between bass players at that point. It just kind of looks very daddish up there.
He's he is a dad. Producers are like dads.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know. It didn't seem fitting. In the seat of the producer, of course.
Wonderful.
But
And needless to say, the bass playing in Saint Anger didn't exactly blow my fucking mind. So
I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you.
Frankster asks, what if they didn't use snare drums in Saint Anger and added guitar solos? I think what he means is
that snare drum.
what if they didn't use that shitty trash can sound and there were actual solos?
Yeah.
Well, easy. The record would have been better.
It would have been way better.
The remix they did of Some Kind of Monster, which is like way shorter with an actual normal sounding snare, makes the song kind of tolerable.
Yeah, for sure.
Gun, 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 gun.
Yeah, because there are some really good riffs on that record.
There are, man. There really are.
There really is good stuff.
It's
lot
just
of
a
like
shame.
Detuned. It's just
I don't like it when they do detune shit, which I guess Dream No More is detuned, but
the live version. Or no, the record version's for sure detuned.
because they debuted it. Did you see the debut?
Yeah,
they
and
debuted
it's
Dream No
even
More?
lower.
And he's playing it on one of those viper.
It's like a baritone.
Yeah.
I think on the record, I have to double check on my guitar, but I think the live version they just debuted in Mexico City is in C sharp.
Do you just like sit at your computer with your guitar and like find?
I don't know what you're talking about. Of course I do.
Of course you do.
Ooh, this next one's good.
It's you.
Oh, you're correct. Sorry. I got ahead. My bad. What if Bob Rock produced Death Magnetic? This is asked by, this is Ogre Jim J.
Jim J.
And GP Chamb.
GPC Ham.
GCPH Amb. What if Bob Rock produced Death Magnetic? I have actually asked this and said this, and
Yeah.
I would love to have heard that
Me
record
too.
with Bob Rock production,
Or Greg.
or Greg. Well, Greg worked on it, but like I would love to hear Greg more at the helm,
Me
like
too.
he was on Hardwire.
Me too.
I would love to hear Fleming. Imagine Fleming doing Death Magnetic,
Yeah,
because
that's
it's a good amount of thrash on that record. That was the record where they were kind of going back to like.
I consider Death Magnetic a straight up thrash record.
I love that record. I would. That's a record I would love to hear a remix of.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they do with it. I mean, some people want them to go re-record it. I mean, that's never going to happen.
No, I wouldn't say go re-record it. I would say just not even a crazy remix. Just like, hey, let's pull back those faders, not get that digital clipping that you hear.
Yeah, the remastering is going to be nice.
Yeah, I know that they have done a remastered version for iTunes that
Right.
is better,
Is
but
it?
it is better. But you, as most of you know, you can find fan remasters all over the internet and stuff. And I've downloaded a few of them to check it out, and they're pretty cool and stuff. But,
Right on.
I would like to hear that.
I would definitely like to hear it.
A remix.
I think Rick Rubin is an amazing producer. I love the shit he's done with Johnny Cash and Slayer and Chili Peppers and Run DMC.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously a super talented dude.
Of course.
But I couldn't give a hot shit about what he did on Death Magnetic.
I know, me too.
I really couldn't give a fuck.
Well, and from what I've heard, he just wasn't there a lot. He'd show up once a week, and
And I think it shows.
it does, yeah.
Okay, the Steel Curtain asks, what if they never met Lou Reed? Would Hardwired have come out earlier? I think so. Would it be different? I don't think so. What if Lars... Sorry. What if Lars wasn't bald? Would he still wear beanies?
Oh my gosh, what if Lars was bald? Would he still wear beanies? I mean,
probably not.
Probably not. He probably still have his hair flowing and be whipping it around and stuff like that. You know,
He's not totally bald though.
not totally. He's getting there. But good.
I
Good
was
for him.
not expecting that.
Lars, there was a point where he was still kind of trying to grow out the back and sort of get this
Yeah,
more thing
trying
going.
to
Like
hang on.
within the last 5 years.
Yeah, hanging on. Hanging on to
But
it.
lately, it's just kind of like it looks like he takes a set of clippers to it. I'm like a number 3, and it's
I think he looks good in the beanie though. That's good news.
yeah, that's great news for Lars.
Joe Caps 1988 asks, "What if Metallica had held a Rhine festival in a different location, Vegas, for example?" Wow. Well, I do think different locations might have lended the festival to more success. Bay Area being
I was gonna say if they did it like in San Francisco, I think it would have been way
Atlantic
bigger.
City and Detroit, man, no one wants to go to those places.
Yeah,
Maybe it was like licensing deals and just tax cuts with different cities and states.
Yeah, I don't know.
Chicago, Bay Area, Atlanta, New York. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Fucking even Seattle, like the Pacific Northwest.
Maybe they'll do it again. Who knows?
I really hope they do it. I mean,
Maybe Nashville.
maybe in your studio tomorrow.
Maybe Metallica can play right here in my garage. All right, Bean Eater likes Mexican food. That's cool with me. What if Fleming Rasmussen would have produced Hardwired? We just talked about that. Or any album from the Black Album onward, would it sound vastly different, better, or worse? Why? Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you would have produced Hardwired, the thing is, I have to admit, I haven't listened to something Fleming's produced.
I haven't either. I don't really know.
In recent years, so I don't know kind of what his stuff sounds like nowadays.
I do agree with you though. If I was going to do the magical switcheroo, I would pick Death Magnetic because
Yes, agreed.
I don't want anything touching Hardwired. I love it.
I love Hardwired.
And of course, Load and Reload. Bob Rock's my dude on those.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Now, if Fleming came in for like Saint Anger, he might
think about it.
agree with Torben and say delete that.
Yeah, I mean, if Bob Rock couldn't make Saint Anger sound good, or was Bob Rock just too close to the fire?
I think he was way too close.
He got lost.
I think at that point he was like another member who was just overshadowed by James and Lars.
and couldn't say no to them. Couldn't say this sucks.
Right.
You know.
Well, or if he did, I think James or Lars would have been like, no, it doesn't.
Da do da do da do da do. Have you seen that YouTube video
Yeah.
of him doing that?
Yeah.
Da do da do da do da do.
I like the video. I found videos of Rob after he got hired while they were still tracking, actually doing "You're flushing out, flushing out."
Oh god.
It's kind of painful.
Oh boy.
All right, Mr. Bojangle 69. Oh yeah,
Look at that flavor.
Now we're talking.
Flavor strong.
We're hitting almost an hour here. Now we're getting to the
We
good
need to-
screen names.
Are we looking okay? Can we get through? We have a lot more to go. Are we?
We do have a lot more. I mean, this could be our longest episode.
All right, let's blow through it.
Or
Let's
we'll
do it.
split it up. Who knows?
No, let's blow through it.
All right, what if Metallica would have played a Lady Gaga song and her mic was turned off on the first verse?
I don't think that would have ever happened because the Grammys just seem hellbent on taking a big shit on metal
Yeah.
and making things real easy and beautiful and great for pop artists.
And I don't think that, as much as they have respect for Lady Gaga, I don't know if they would agree to play one of her songs.
Well, not if she didn't have a record coming out or wasn't nominated that year.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Metallica?
Metallica played
No,
one of her songs.
Metallica wouldn't. I don't
think they
you
would.
come up and do a fucking poker face with me. We love you, but no.
Yeah, why don't you do one of ours?
No, because here's the deal. Lady Gaga's a big Metallica fan.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily so sure it goes both ways.
Right.
In terms of the music they make.
I think they have the most respect for her
Mutual
and her
respect.
work ethic.
I think they're friends.
Sure.
But okay.
All right.
Geek Out asks, what if Lulu never happened? Would the Metallica Lady Gaga pairing be accepted a bit better? Would Metallica themselves as a whole be less reluctant to go full force with a duet style project? I don't really. I think the Metallica Lady Gaga pairing landed pretty well.
I think that could have happened with or without Lulu.
Here's the deal, man. They tried this thing out with Lou Reed. It's a piece of art that a lot of people didn't really dig. That's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to it. It's a piece of pizza.
I don't.
I definitely don't. I choose not to. It's a piece of pizza. You put it in the fridge. You're ever hungry for it? It's right there.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
Yeah.
I don't wish it was never made.
Sure. Well, and you know, in a lot of the podcast stuff that those guys have been on the last couple months with promo for Hardwired, you know, James talked about what a great experience it was to get to know Lou Reed, and what a challenge it was to write only music to somebody else's lyrics.
It was a great thing for them to try.
It was, yeah.
And one of the things that we all love, hopefully you love about this band by now, is that they're not afraid to look forward, to try things as artists, to explore shit as artists. And you're not going to hit it out of the goddamn park every time you do it.
Right, totally.
Okay, Fade to Black 60. I didn't mean for that to sound so angry. I did not mean that angrily towards...
What's your problem,
towards
Clint?
who asked that? Geek Out. Sorry, Geek Out. That was a good question. Fade to Black 68 asks, what if Metallica would have played So What at the Grammys? I would have been laughing my ass off.
It would have been awesome. Well, they did that years ago. I want to say it was the European Music Awards.
They played So What?
Yeah.
Like, just uncensored?
Oh, yeah. It was like
bleep, 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 bleep.
No, you can watch it online where it's like it's not censored, but
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Very cool. But the older, wiser, post-rehab, legendary status Metallica now, they're not looking to ruffle feathers.
Right.
They're not rebellious rock star, or you know what I mean? Like they're all
in their 50s. Like
they wanted to promote their new record, and they were honored to be there.
Yeah.
So okay.
Totally. All right.
Or Jim again.
Or Jim.
Ogre Jim.
What if Metallica never put out Hardwired or ever made another album again and took up a residency in Vegas?
Just went the old Celine Dion route.
Celine Dion, Shania Twain did that.
I would be bummed.
Garth Brooks did that. I would be pretty bummed too.
I'd be bummed. I wouldn't dig it.
I don't think they ever would, but this is a what if episode. If they did it, and I happened to be in Vegas, would I go? Yes, I would.
I would go.
I would go.
Yeah.
I would probably leave bummed.
Yeah.
But at least I went.
But what if you went and it was just a great kick-ass Metallica show? It would be a
but
bummer.
with like showgirls.
Oh, jeez.
Like kicking their legs in the air and stuff, and like David Blaine in the corner like doing magic, or David Copperfield. Copperfield has to be Copperfield.
David Copperfield's like got a lion with walking a lion across the stage.
Yeah,
Is that the lion guy? Who are the lions?
That was Siegfried and Roy.
Oh God, how do you know all this?
That was like headline news, and one of the guys got like eaten by a tiger or something.
Yeah, like his best friend, the tiger that ate him.
Yeah, totally.
Don't play with wild animals, dummies.
All right, Spider-By says, what if Kirk hadn't lost his phone? Well,
did he?
Did he, or is that his excuse? There's an interview that's pretty recent where he's talking about it, and I feel like, I'm not trying to dog on Kirk, but I feel like he's just making up excuses as to why he wasn't creatively involved. I lost my phone. Yeah, I can't remember any of them, really.
According to Kirk's story, had he not lost his phone, he would have been over 250 riffs he would have contributed to Hardwired. So if we take him at his word, then Hardwired might have been a better record than it already is.
I mean, how many of those would Hetfield have been like, this is better?
Probably most of them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we know that he wrote Enter Sandman, the riff. Mm-hmm. The dude's not incapable of writing great riffs, but he's not known for that. He's known for his thoughtful, melodic, Kirk-esque solos that he was not really fully able to bring to the table for Hardwired.
What he needs to be known for is using iCloud and backing up his shit.
Like, I don't think losing a phone can really explain the lack of special sauce from Kirk on Hardwired. I don't think so.
I just think, I mean, nowadays with iPhones, whatever you use an Android, it's pretty damn easy to back things up. I mean, you can, if you have 250 riffs on your phone, that means you've gone a long ass time without syncing your phone to your computer.
Yeah.
Because when you sync it, it's on there. Assuming he's doing this like in voice memo app or something. So unless he wrote, dozens a day, but I don't know.
I agree. Guitar Man 122508 and you JJ Wallaka 182 ask, what if Torben never told Lars to delete that? We wouldn't have our beautiful outro to our podcast.
This is very true, and I also think that they would have one more shitty song on the record.
What if Jason's plan for those millions were for fucking sandwiches? Do you know what he's talking about? In a year and a half in the life, Jason's like, which by the way, I've been doing this on tour for years, where he's at catering making sandwiches for his hotel room.
Yeah.
And Lars is like, he like takes sandwiches to his hotel room so he doesn't have to buy sandwiches. So he's like, go ask him. And the guy's like, aren't you like a millionaire now? And Jason's like, I got plans for those millions, and it's not to buy fucking sandwiches.
Yeah, that's right.
So what if his plan was to spend those millions on sandwiches? Then he probably has a lot of sandwiches by now.
A lot of sandwiches, or maybe a sandwich chain or something.
I've been doing that, dude, since I was like 20. The poor man's...
I still do it.
Well, you know what I still do? is in the morning at the complimentary breakfast, you get 2 pieces of toast and then all those little like Aunt Jemima peanut butters.
Right.
Put them in a plastic bag. Boom, you got lunch.
Totally.
You keep that per diem.
Oh yeah.
You pocket it.
I do that. I do that to this day. I mean, like you're leaving the venue, the band's gone. You walk in the dressing room, like
Beer,
vultures, grab all the stuff, take it to your hotel room.
Totally.
And guess what? You don't have to spend money at the bar.
Dude, we just got off the bus today and from a weekend of playing shows, and just cases and cases of, albeit shitty beer, but me and the bass, everyone split, and it was just me and the bass player. And we were like, you want to split all these? He's like, yeah,
That's awesome.
I do want to do that. Okay, what's next?
Beefy Crunch Boy.
Beefy Crunch Boy.
I kind of like that
Which
name.
he explained, actually. He explained his name to me recently. I can't remember what it was, though. It's a Taco Bell. It's a Taco Bell, like, seasonal item.
A Beefy Crunch wrap or something?
Beefy Crunch thing. Boy, I don't know. Whatever.
A Beefy Crunch wrap.
What if a
Supreme.
band member left the band? It could be any of the four. Would it be too late in Metallica's life to add in a new member at this stage in their career and have to retire from then on? Or would a replacement be the most viable option? Well, I think if Robert left, they'd replace him.
Agreed, yeah. I think he's the most expendable.
You know what? Would they replace Kirk if he left? They probably would.
I think they would.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, Kirk is a very important piece of Metallica and their history and all those records.
But at this point, he would just be parroting Kirk.
Oh yeah, you would bring someone in just to duplicate
Kirk's
all
parts.
those solos.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I don't think they would replace Lars, and I definitely don't think James is James and Lars are irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable.
And you know what? If they did replace Kirk, I think I would probably lose interest in the band.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would give it a chance, just like the Vegas show, you know?
Yeah.
The Steel Curtain asks, what if Hulk Hogan joined Metallica? Well, Hulk Hogan's a bass player.
No shit.
Shit. He totally is.
Is he good?
Maybe. I don't know. This reminds me, there is... he made like a record. My friend bought it for me on tour one time, like this is probably 15, 16 years ago.
Is it rock music?
It's all sorts of things. I gotta find it, and I'm gonna play it for you, and maybe we'll play a clip on the show sometime.
Okay.
All I know, it's called Hulk Hogan and the Wrestlin' Boot Band.
That sounds.
It's terrible.
So bad.
It's terrible.
Hey,
There's a
brother.
song. Oh, he says "Hey brother" on it. Like
Hey brother, like on every song.
Yeah, there's one where like
Tell me there's a song called Hey Brother.
There's not, but there's a song called. Let's see if I remember this. It's called "Hulksters in the House."
Oh, jeez.
And it's like a rap.
Is this like 90s?
Yeah, it's 90s. You would think it was 80s, but it's 90s, like early 90s. And he I think in the studio he was probably like, I'm gonna say some cool phrases. So the song starts with like a hip hop beat and like these female vocals, and he goes, "What's up, dude?" That's all he says, and he raps. There's a ballad on there called "Hulkster in Heaven." I'm not kidding about this stuff.
God,
Somebody
you know
listening
so much about it.
Because it's so unbelievably bad, you're going to want to listen to it.
Okay.
I guarantee somebody listening to this podcast right now owns it or has heard it.
And loves it.
I hope they love it because it's special. Do I like it better than Saint Anger? That's the next topic.
That's the question.
Yeah.
That's the $1 million question.
Okay, back to...
Ogre Jim J.
Ogre Jim J. What if Lars was born a girl? Would he have been more into tennis than music? Probably.
Probably.
Yeah. Or maybe she would be a badass drummer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Both are entirely possible.
Very entirely
It's a new
possible.
world. Hardwired to Self-Destruct asks, what if Megadeth was bigger than Metallica? That would be fascinating.
That would be fascinating. I keep trying. I want to say like what I really feel, and like that's impossible. But this is a what if episode. So what if they were
like what if the ubiquity of Enter Sandman was hello me, meet the real me.
Yeah.
It's me again.
Yeah, or even just like Symphony of Destruction was like that was the Enter Sandman, the huge like that put them into the mainstream.
Is that the one that goes hello me? That's the only Megadeth song I know.
You know, da da da
Da, da,
da
da, da, da. Hello me.
You're gonna say that on every Megadeth song I bring up.
Oh god. Okay.
Have you heard that song "Tornado of Souls"?
Hello me. It's me again. Tornado of Souls again. Just like Pied Piper. Is that a different song?
That's Symphony of Destruction.
Oh, okay. I do know a different one.
You know too.
Hello me. It's me again. Don Shetland asks, what if Lars retired and Dave Lombardo joined the band?
Well, we did see a little evidence of this.
Right.
2004 Download
Festival.
when Lars got sick. And
he kicks ass, you know? I mean, he does.
There's a couple little flubs because I'm sure there was zero rehearsal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty badass when he starts doing double kick way better than Lars could ever do. That's awesome.
Yeah.
His technicalities are amazing. I mean, they sound really tight. But again, it's not Lars.
Yeah, I got to have these dudes, man.
Yeah.
I got to have James and Lars and Kirk. I got to have them.
Now, again, like the Vegas show, if Lars retired and they said, we're going to do one more tour and Dave Lombardo's on drums, I would be losing my shit.
I would go.
I think it'd be awesome.
I think if Lars can't do it for whatever reason,
Yeah.
and it's going to be, I think, A, Dave is a wonderful choice.
Sure.
And B, I would back it.
But I think if Lars retired, I think Metallica would retire. They'd be done.
I think so.
I don't think they would continue without Lars.
It would be a strange new day if they did.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Exactly. All right. Ring the Bell says, what if James's voice had the same issues as Brian Johnson?
What issues are those?
Brian Johnson, his main issue is
His hearing.
Hearing, yeah. I mean, he with age, he can't sing Back in Black like he could in 1980.
Right. I mean, I think James does have vocal issues.
I think he does. I mean, I think James has been smart about it ever since the Black Album when he blew his voice out. He's very anal about warming up. I'm sure he still goes to vocal coaches. He corrects the way he sings live in order to get through the show and probably not blow his vocal cords out. Like on Hardwired, he has that good Hetfield growl, but you're in the studio. You can keep redoing it.
Oh, yeah, that's
you
comped from multiple takes.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of... I'm not saying they auto-tune or anything, but there's like studio trickery, and they
Of course, yeah. There's probably
and,
like another track where it's like
they double
overdriven. And
totally.
You know, but live, I mean, James is what, 53 years old? 54?
I think he's like 84,
87?
85. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you have to be sparing with what you do live. That's why there's songs that are detuned and stuff like that. The only person I know that's like getting really old, that still sounds pretty badass, even though his solo record's kind of lame is Steven Tyler. He can, like 67 years old, wherever he is, he can still sing like Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
Somehow, but when you're in a metal band, I mean, think about how that dude sang for like 10 years straight, like just pushing as hard as he could.
I got kind of in like a Pantera YouTube loop, just that Phil Anselmo shit too, man.
Talking about a guy who can't sing anymore, like
totally gone. I know. It sucks.
In interviews, he's like, "Well, man, I just,
I saw one thing with him where he said, "Say you are what you eat." I don't remember reading a goddamn legend.
Oh my gosh, Phil Anselmo.
He's so disappointing these days.
He is. All right, Die Die My Darling says, what if Metallica sounded exactly as they do now, but James had a thick English accent?
Like a moth into a flame.
A moth into flame?
We're so fucked.
Shit out of luck.
Hot wired.
Hot wired is self-destruct.
You're doing a different kind of English accent than I do.
I'm
doing a kind of a gentleman.
I just tour with a couple English people, and so it's a mesh of all them, I guess.
We're so fucked. Hardwired to self-destruct.
You almost sound like on your phone when you change the voice of British male or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe you'd sound more like, punk rock Sex Pistols. I don't know.
But sometimes like you can't tell when these people are British. Like some Iron Maiden shit, you know, like
Bruce, you can't really tell on a lot
of
of stuff. I think. I mean, or even like I don't know why this comes to mind, but the band The Cardigans, big favorite of mine. They're Swedish. They're Swedish,
yeah.
And when their singer Nina sings, you can hear little accents here and there, but I mean, she sounds American to me in songs. So
I think, needless to say, if they still sounded kick-ass and they still had good songs, I don't give a shit what accent they have.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so we have a little blast of questions from our friend that we mentioned before, Joshua, Metallica fan, and we'll do these real quick. What if James Hetfield still had the 1995 mullet?
I mean, I wouldn't.
It reminded me a lot of the people I went to high school with.
It was a little weird
in Alabama. What if Metallica never did any music videos? This kept that mystique.
Don't think they'd be as big as they are.
I agree.
That's one of the things with Enter Sandman. The one was the first video, of course, but Enter Sandman. I mean, everyone saw this like scary, like strobe light, old guy, scary band video.
And that was such a time where songs were so closely identified with the imagery from the video that. It's kind of an indelible pairing. Okay, last one from Joshua, Metallica fan. What if Metallica didn't have a set list and played the songs they liked?
I think they like what's on their set list.
I do too, but they are bound by. I mean, they're bound 2, Enter Sandman, Nothing Else
course.
Matters 1,
Master of Puppets.
maybe Puppets.
Creeping Death, maybe.
You know, I think that if they could play whatever they wanted, they'd be playing the new shit because they're most excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's staples you have to put in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know Sad But True is one of James's favorites, though.
Yeah, that's
and that's
awesome.
kind of a staple.
That's very much a staple.
Okay, Mr. Bojangles again, 69, says, what if Metallica played a random set list aided by a computer program?
Whoa.
Like, put all, like, what do they have, like 180-something songs?
Like an algorithm that just, like, creates a set list for you?
I think they would have to be super fucking rehearsed to be able to play anything that computer spit out.
Absolutely. Especially if that's including, like, B-sides, covers, all that stuff.
Oh, my God, yeah. That'd be a lot of tuning room time.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. All right, Sid5 says, someone, joking, suggested that Dave Mustaine was behind Cliff's death in James's stage accident.
What if?
I don't know why you would ever suggest that, because that's whatever. What if that was actually true? What if Mustaine summoned black magic and cursed Metallica? What if Load, Reload, and Saint Anger are part of that curse? And until Metallica made peace with Mustaine, then the curse was over and good music came back.
Well, I would not.
This might be my favorite question of the night.
What if Dave Mustaine used black magic to curse Cliff and James?
I mean, on Rust in Peace, there was a song called Five Magics, but that would have been post Cliff's death when that record got released.
Wow.
Well, I mean, hypothetically
wouldn't-
speaking, I mean, that's a long curse.
Well, the curse is to last until they made peace, which they made peace during the making of Saint Anger. After they made Saint Anger, right? Or maybe they're calling the Big Four shows when they made peace.
Yeah, maybe so. There might have been peace made behind closed doors, you know, after Saint Anger post or pre shows, whatever. But if he did perform some black magic, he's a talented dude.
Well, here's the deal, okay? Load and Reload were massive albums that I don't think suck by any means. Saint Anger, I think, sucks, but guess what? That motherfucker went to #1. So
It did. And
Dave's
it's
Black Magic.
platinum.
So Dave's Black Magic needs a little
tweaking.
little tweaking.
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very interesting question, though.
Through This Iron Sky says, what if Mustaine rejoined and Metallica became a 5-piece?
Well, we got to see that a little
got
bit
the
on the
30th
30th anniversary show. And you know what? Old Mustaine kicked ass.
He totally did. I mean, I think he's still technically a better player than Kirk, even at their age.
Yeah.
When he got up there at the 30th anniversary shows and played those old
Would that be
songs,
cool though? What if they did kind of split up duties evenly, and you just kind of got this fucking tour de force of guitars?
it would be really cool.
It would be pretty cool.
It would be pretty badass. I mean,
It'd be strange though.
I think it'd be most strange for Kirk. He'd be like, "Oh, cool, he's back."
Great.
Like,
I thought I got away with it all these years.
awesome. It's been since '83, but
Don Shetland asks, "What if each member recorded a solo album like Kiss? What would each album sound like?"
well, I've said it before. Hetfield country record,
Yeah,
like
okay.
an outlaw country record.
Lars would make a throwback to a new wave of British heavy metal record. It
think
would
so.
sound like Diamond Head or something.
Yeah.
And he would have all those guys guest on it because he's just a drummer.
Yeah.
Kirk would make an instrumental blues jazz record.
Yeah.
That no one would listen to.
I would say Robert would do like a jazz fusion, funk.
Yeah.
He's a big Jaco Pastorius fan.
Yep.
Produced that documentary, all that stuff.
In order of which record was the best, we're going to go with James because of the songs. Surprisingly, Robert at number 2.
See, I would put Lars at number 2.
Lars number 3. Kirk Hammett number 4.
Hammett would be at number 4.
Kirk
for me,
Hammett
too.
would be the Peter Criss of that.
Yeah, totally.
That's an interesting question, though, and I like any questions that sort of tie into Kiss. All right, our last what if?
This is it, the last one.
Joe Caps, 1988, asked, what if Metallica did a USO tour? For those of you who don't know what a USO tour, do you know what a USO tour is?
Yes.
So it's
I've never done one.
It's
but-
through I did one with Laura Bell Bundy about 4 years ago. It's through the Navy, so it's through the military, and it's where a band goes and plays for the troops.
Yeah.
And the one I did was in Bahrain and Isa and Djibouti, Africa, but you can do them in Australia. You can really do them anywhere that there are Navy troops. So
Yeah.
man, it was a fucking blast. It was scary, some of it.
Sure,
but
yeah. But those dudes are thankful. Like, you're
they
going
were
all this
so
way to play
humble
music for
and
them.
so grateful, and seeing how they live, you kind of live on their base with them. We did one show from an aircraft carrier.
That's so bitchin'.
in a nondescript place in the Pacific. They couldn't even tell us where we were,
Wow.
and like we were being hazed by planes and shit.
What? I've never heard this about you.
Yeah.
I want an episode about your USO tour.
We crash landed on this aircraft carrier. They do what they call a controlled crash. You fly a cod plane,
God, I would have a heart attack.
and they catch you with these ropes, but you go
I've seen
from like
that.
60 to 0 in 2 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
It's called a controlled crash.
No, I don't want that.
The drummer, so I'll end on this last anecdote. So our sweet drummer, so when you're in that COD plane, there's no windows in it, and you're facing the back of it. And it was about a 40-minute flight to the aircraft carrier.
There's no windows, you can't see anything.
You can't see anything.
Oh my gosh.
And they tell you when you're landing, and you're wearing all this gear, and it's really hot, right? So, and they basically strap you into the dude whoever's next to you. So our whole band, dude, all these like artists are just freaked out up here, and our drummer's starting to get sick.
Yeah.
And we have these like masks on and shit, and he pukes like next to me, like in his mask,
just coming out the side and stuff.
Yeah, and so someone gives him like a bag, and dude, I can't get away from him. I'm
you're
tethered to him on this fucking COD plane, but I'm trying to be supportive because he's my dude.
Oh my gosh, that sucks.
About 20 minutes later, he fucking pukes again. I was so ready to get off that fucking plane, dude. Like, he was so humiliated. I felt bad, you know.
Of course, yeah, that does suck.
There's nothing he could do about it.
He couldn't control it.
But if Metallica did a USO tour, I mean, they seem like the band that would do a kind of give back to the troops, especially James.
I mean, they did a show, like I mentioned before, at San Quentin,
right,
for the prisoners, and James got there and spoke to him and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, it's in that documentary, but I'm sure they would do a great job, you know. And they may, you know,
I think they might be a little too big for that operation. They don't. I don't know if they do a lot of massive bands like that.
Yeah, I have zero experience in doing that, but
it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, that concludes our What If episode. That was
thanks to everyone who wrote in. That was a lot.
That was
of fun.
a lot. You're making my voice even more hoarse from already being sick, so I appreciate it. But yeah, seriously, thank you so much for writing in. That was really fun. We definitely have to do a part 2 of those. We'll do some more what ifs. Maybe we can get more specific. Like we're gonna do what ifs on just the Black Album or something like that. I don't know. We'll brainstorm and come up with a cool idea.
Yeah.
But
where can everyone find us if they want to find us?
I'm glad you asked. Well, as you can find us on Twitter. Torben wasn't here that much this episode.
Nah.
On Twitter, it's Metal Up Your PC. On Instagram, it's Metal Up Your Podcast. MetalUpYourPodcast.com. Email us at metalupyourpodcastshow@gmail.com. And the latest one of all these, if you want to help us out, donate, pledge, patreon.com/metalupyourpodcast.
And I will say, if you can take the time, go to iTunes, find us, leave a positive review. It helps. It's easy. It doesn't cost you nothing.
It costs you $0.
It costs you $0, which is super cheap.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cheapest.
It's almost as cheap as you can get.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time on episode 15, which is our breakdown of the No Laugh Till Leather cassette.
We'll see you then, folks.
Adios.
Peace.
If you were our advisor, what would you say? Then I would say, delete that.